Mm. For allowing me to talk on blowout fracture and the flap tears. And these are two publications out of our 12,687 cases. We also found that 30 to 40% of facial fractures involve orbit. And this was published in IG also. Today, we are glad to announce that out of this 15 global initiative through IGETS, this is published in Graphe Archives today only. When we go to orbital fracture, that can be a pure blowout fracture or impure blowout fracture depending on the involvement orbital rim. So if you look at the floor of the orbit, the floor of antrum, it is called antral blowout fracture. It has got three varieties, and there can be a white trapdoor fracture in the children. So this is the type 1 antral variety when the limitation of elevation will be there. Type 2 antral variety when the limitation of depression will be there, and type 3 antral variety will have a limitation of elevation and depression both. White eye blowout fracture we all know very well, and it needs urgent repair. But why the floor is damaged? Because of 0.23 millimeter thick roof of the infraorbital canal, and that simple trivial trauma can cause the damage to the floor and herniation. So there are two theories. Hydraulic theory, when the object bigger than the orbital rim hits the eye, then it causes the floor fracture because of intra-orbital pressure increase. And the second is buckling theory, where direct pressure also can cause the rim to damage and cause the infra-orbital fracture. The second one common is medial wall fracture. It is called ethmoidal blowout fracture also, and it again has type 1 and type 2, limitation of abduction and limitation in adduction. So that can be right medial rectus entrap. Roof fracture needs very high velocity trauma, but it may be presented with hypoglobus entrosis. So the fourth variety is lateral wall blowout fracture, which is very rare, but it happens because of its thickest wall. There are some special consideration in children for the orbital fracture because the skull is 8 times more than the face when the child borns, and only sphenoidal sinuses are present at birth along with rudimentary maxillary sinus. So before 7 years of age, mainly orbitocranial fracture happens because the eyes are recessed, face is recessed, and the orbital rim is prominent, and they get fracture more. So in children, roof comes first, floor, and then medial wall comes. And then when there is a floor fracture, there will be always entrapped inferior rectus muscle, can be because of soft elastic bones. It is called trapdoor fracture. And with that, they will present with the white eye, without hemorrhage, without ecchymosis. When this kind of child you get, don't just jump to the surgery. Look for the CT scan, and he had a pneumocranium, so wait for the surgery. After 7 years, orbital fractures, and same like blowout first, and then cranium, and then facial. Almost all patients will have a history of trauma, and that can be taken care of by examination of vision, swelling, ecchymosis, facial asymmetry, anesthesia. Around the infraorbital supply, motility disorders, subconjunctival hemorrhage, hyphema, and globe. Along with the cover test, diplopia charting, and field of binocular single vision, and haze charting to see the restrictions. Intraocular pressure in the primary gaze and limitation, all the gaze also measured, and enophthalmos, exophthalmos also, and pupil also to be seen to look for traumatic mydriasis. Visual field also has to be measured along with the radiological investigation. You should order radiological investigation for the coronal with 1.5 cut, so that gives you the proper herniation guide before surgery. So as I said, children will have trapdoor fracture and adult will have large defect with herniation. But all entrapped muscle will not cause the motility disorder, and all motility disorder will not cause the entrapment. So this is a force duction and force generation test helps you very much. This is force generation test positive in this person. For children, we need to do force duction test under general anesthesia. Restriction should not be just jump and conclude, because it can be just because of edema, entrapment, herniation of tissue, entrapment, herniation of muscle, flap tear, and displacement of the globe. These are the differential diagnosis. Non-surgical management can be done, and we have to see the patient every 3 days for improvement in ocular movements, orbital displacement, and in ophthalmos. And treatment can be initially prisms, complete or sectorial occlusion, and sometimes patient may present with the abnormal head posture. And also we can give short course of steroid antibiotics and ask the patient not to blow the nose in order to prevent from the orbital emphysema. Indication for surgery is degree of in ophthalmos, significant bone fracture and trapped muscle, continued symptomatic diplopia, and forced duction test positive. Timing of surgeries are always controversial. In adult, usually 14 to 21 days is okay. But when there are red flag signs, operate within 24 hours, like oculocardiac reflex, retrobulbar hemorrhage, open globe injury, CSF leak, and muscle strangulation. Aim of surgery is to give the complete closure of bony defect and give binocular single vision without diplopia. Routes of surgery are transconjunctival, transcutaneous, and endonasal. Material for implant available are autologous bone, titanium mesh, alloplastic like porous polypropylene, silicone sheet, and combination. And nowadays, newer material, absorbable materials are used: PLA, PGA, PLA plus PGA, and PCL. This boy had a wide blowout fracture. So after canthotomy, we should do inferior cantholysis. Then the transconjunctival incision is placed. The periosteum is properly separated, and then look for the fracture properly. Take out all the tissues from the antrum. We implanted porous polypropylene implant and attached with the cyanoacrylate glue and place. Then again we can suture the periosteum, transconjunctival root, and then canthotomy. And don't forget to do forced duction test at the end of the surgery. So this is third day post-op of the same day, same boy. This boy, we need to wait and then till the enophthalmos develop. Once the enophthalmos developed, after 10 days edema regressed, then we operated for the floor fracture with titanium mesh. So on table it is seen that there is no enophthalmos. But this person, I got a call from facial-maxillary surgeon and orthopedic surgeon in our area. We usually operate together these kind of cases. So after examination of complete orbital area where the fractures lie, we tell this facial-maxillary surgeon to fixate the mandible first, and then we start the orbital fixation. So I did the medial rim of the fracture fixation first, and then the lateral rim of the fracture fixation. I'm extremely sorry for this video because my resident was clicking this video and I was operating at other place without microscope. So I had to, just to tell about all kinds of fracture, I have included this video in it. After that, proper implant after fenestration of the edges, we put, and this patient had a large defect in medial wall and inferior wall. This floor implant was fixated. After fixation of complete implant, we must do the forced duction test on table. Initially in the surgery, immediately after surgery, you may feel that forced duction test is still positive. So again and again, go and readjust the implant, because sometimes implant is touching to the tissue or the muscle. So till the forced duction test is completely negative, that then only we can say the end of surgery. And then we fixated the superior orbital rim in this particular patient. This is post-operative 1 day and 7 day. Patient regain all the movement in all gazes. So sometimes we may have to operate in multiple areas and still we can give good results. Endonasal route I don't recommend, because as an ophthalmic surgeon, we don't like to push some tissue against globe. Complication intraoperative can be just damage to optic nerve, but with experienced surgeon, it doesn't happen because they do meticulous resection, proper measurement of implant. You can use 3D printer to measure the implant. Complication immediate post-operative can happen: infection, antibiotic, it can be prescribed, edema, systemic steroid can be given, hemorrhage. Then we have to reopen and ligate the vessel. Implant migration, reoperation, and re-implant the area. Vision loss due to compartment syndrome, then again we have to reopen and decompression effect should be given. Herniation of tissue can be because of improper size of implant, so you have to take care. And complication late can come with some motility disorders, enophthalmos, and palpebral fissure changes. In this flap tear, again patient presented after 6 to 12 months with the diplopia, and then recession resection procedure can be done. In this gynecologist also, we did all the correction, but later on he had a canthal tendon deformity, which can be corrected post-operatively cosmetically. Sometimes iatrogenic enophthalmos can be created by floor fracture from the sinus surgery, as happened in this lady. So we treated, we did everything, but then she was not satisfied and she thought it is enophthalmos, but it is pseudo enophthalmos. So in this case, we can use the fillers area. This is last slide, sir. And this is a true enophthalmos where we needed to do all kinds of surgeries, including ptosis and volume augmentation surgery. So I'll conclude with that. Monitor regularly. Surgery for large fractures and trap muscle should be done, and muscle surgery can be done later on anytime. And in this COVID-19, we had again 2 publications just because increased injury rate. I'll tell you later on. Thanks to my patients, thanks to my teachers, thanks.